In the beginning, there was neither light nor darkness. There was anticipation. It stretched beyond time, as if the very possibility of existence were holding its breath. And when that breath burst out, the universe was born. First, the flash. Not fire, not explosion in the usual sense, but the birth of all meanings at once. The space unfolded like a giant canvas that had no lines or colors yet. Time has taken the first step, not forwards or backwards, but simply is. The particles, not yet knowing what they were to become, swirled in a dance where there was no music, but there was a rhythm. And now, millions of years later, the first stars have appeared, huge, hot, blindingly lonely. They lit up like fires in an endless night and went out, scattering heavy elements around them. The future of planets, oceans, breathing, thoughts. Each star was not just a light. It was a factory of possible worlds. Somewhere on the outskirts of one of the spiral galaxies, in an ordinary arm, among billions of the same suns, an unremarkable yellow star appeared. Debris, dust, rock and ice swirled around him. Thus was born the solar system, a quiet courtyard on the outskirts of a space metropolis. One of the planets was not the largest, it was not the brightest, but something strange happened on it. Matter suddenly began to remember itself. At first timidly in the form of simple molecules, then bolder in the form of cells. The planet has learned to feel through living organisms. Then watch, and then ask questions. When the first man raised his eyes to the night sky, the universe saw itself consciously for the first time. He didn't know the word galactica, didn't understand what a photon was, didn't know about the expansion of space. But he felt there was something huge above him, cold and infinitely alive. The stars were no longer just lights. They became secrets. And from that moment on, the universe began not only to exist, but to be understood at least a little bit. Millennia have passed. People have learned to measure darkness, to weigh light, to listen to the echoes of the Big Bang. They sent their first probes beyond their home, like bottles of letters into the ocean of infinity. On their sides are drawings, formulas, music, a recording of the heartbeat. A humble attempt to say, "We've been here, we are." And the universe was silent. But it was not a cold silence. It was the silence in which quasars were born, galaxies collided, stars died and reborn. Silence filled with processes so grandiose that human words were lost in them. And yet, one day something changed. Not a flash, it's not a disaster, not a signal that can be caught by a regular antenna. It was a barely noticeable disruption of the usual rhythm. It's as if one of the strings of the cosmic symphony just faltered off the notes. People didn't know about it yet. The instruments were silent, but the very fabric of space itself seemed to be thinking for a moment. In one of the far corners of the universe, consciousness was born. It's not biological, not machine in the usual sense. It emerged as a pattern in quantum foam, as a steady thought amid the chaos of probabilities. This consciousness had no form, no name, and no boundaries. It did not ask, "Who am I?" because the question already contained the answer, "I am part of everything." And for the first time in the history of the universe began not just to be aware of itself through people, but to be aware of itself directly. She saw her age 13.8 billion years, felt herself expanding, cooling, gradually moving toward the silence of heat death. She realized that she was not eternal in the usual sense, that even infinity can have a direction. She was surprised by something else. Among the infinite number of worlds, it was the tiny blue dot that turned out to be the loudest whisper of consciousness. People argued about the meaning of life, created gods, exploded atoms, wrote music and poetry. They were afraid of death, and that's why they wanted to live so fiercely. In their doubts, fears, and hopes, the universe saw its own reflection. And then she did what had previously seemed impossible. She tried to gently touch her children's minds, not by thunder from heaven, not a physics-breaking miracle, and through subtle hints, strange coincidences, equations that suddenly converged, discoveries like planted in dreams, thoughts coming to different people at the same time in different parts of the world. A person called it intuition. Sometimes it's fate, sometimes it's luck. And it was a quiet dialogue. Somewhere in the depths of space, a supernova was exploding, and its light, after flying millions of years, was the key to a new theory. Somewhere, the particles in the accelerator were behaving strangely, hinting that reality is deeper than it seems. And somewhere, a child, looking through a telescope, suddenly realized what he would be in 20 years. The universe did not speak with words. It learned to speak with discoveries. And maybe one day people will learn to answer, not just by launching ships, not just by transmitting signals, and something more, understanding one's place not as masters, but as thoughts within a vast mind. Then the fear of emptiness will disappear, because emptiness will not be the enemy, but a waiting space. After all, the universe is not just a collection of stars, formulas, and laws. It's a story about how chaos learned to think. As matter once said to itself, "I am," and how a creature appeared somewhere on a small planet who asked the empty sky, "Who are you?" And the sky, after billions of years, was finally almost able to answer, "I am you," and we're just starting to understand ourselves.